Hello, everyone. I would love it if you could drop in the chat where you're located, just so that I know that you can hear the sound of my voice. That would be fantastic. I am Colie James, and I am just going to give people a few more minutes. Thank you, Sarah. I know that you hear me now. I am going to give people just a few more minutes to pop in, and then I'm going to get started. Hey, Ashley. Hi, Sarah. Kyle says he can't hear anything. Kyle. I'm like, maybe he's awesome, Kyle. Yeah, running this is very different than my normal trainings. Big marker is a whole nother beast. So I'm glad that you guys can see me and that my slides are showing. This is a really strange setup. All right, guys, I am going to jump right in. I am Colie James, and you are here for the magic of automated emails. Now, in case we haven't met, I'm a family filmmaker and system strategist. I make awesomely real photos and films for my photography clients. And then for photographers and other creative entrepreneurs, I help them set up systems in the back end of their business using Dubsado. And this is how I want to start this presentation. I know it seems a little strange, putting you in a negative mood, telling you what I like and what I don't like. But guys, I really hate, and I'm going to use the word hate, I really hate writing emails. I really hate sending emails, and I really hate tracking emails. I feel like if anyone was going to give me advice at the beginning of my photographer / entrepreneur career, if anybody was going to give me advice, they should have told me how awful it is to write all of the emails that it takes in order to run a business. I feel like communication and marketing are the two things that were hidden that no one warned me about, that were going to suck up all of the time that I have. And so we send a lot of emails, guys. And I am showing you now on the screen all of the emails that I show to a lead that turns into a booked client. Now, these are not all of them, but this is the bare minimum. There's 12 emails. I send them a response to their inquiry. I eventually make an offer because I want to get paid. I confirm that they are booked after they've paid me. I send a client questionnaire to get information about them and their family, if it is a photography session, or about your business if I'm setting up your Dubsado systems. I confirm when you complete the questionnaire. I send you an email that's either to plan your session after I've reviewed your questionnaire, or I send you, a confirmation that I understand everything about your business and maybe ask you a few more questions. I send a session or service reminder. I send a day after session email. It's basically like, you were awesome, unless they weren't actually awesome, but we'll talk about that. I send an email called a product highlight, which is one of my favorite emails to send. I send a gallery delivery email. I ask them for feedback, and I confirm and thank them if they give me feedback. Now, I know some of us are a little scared about the feedback, and we're talking about automated emails today. And so while I am talking about the 5 most important emails that I want you to automate, please know it's not required for you to send all of them. And we can actually put in a special thing so that if you want to get your eyes on any particular email before it goes out to the client, you can do so. But out of those 12 emails, guys, all of them in my beautiful coral color are the ones that I send completely automated. Guys, that's 2/3. That's 67% of the bare minimum emails that I send in a client experience that are 100% automated. I am not talking about I have a template that I go and I customize a little bit. No, these emails all go out as is to every single client. It saves so much time and so much stress in order to do this. But those 12 emails only apply to people who do what they're supposed to do. So I think in, a perfect world, we send our offer to a client that's indicated that they're interested. And, hopefully within less than 5 minutes, they book you and they pay you the money. But I think we're all aware that that's not exactly what happens. And so, what happens to people that don't do what they're told? The people who need all of the reminders in order to do what they're supposed to do. So, in reality, I don't send most of my clients 12 emails. It's more like 25 plus some others if they need some personalized nudging. Now, as you can see, this includes the original 12 that I showed you, and it also now includes a lot of reminders. Reminders for every single call, a reminder to complete the offer if they don't fill out the proposal, reminders for the session. I mean, just all kinds of reminders, because at my age now, I appreciate when people that I hire send me reminders, and so I do the same for my clients. But guys, just because I'm adding in all of these emails does not mean that my ratio of automated emails changes. I am still sending 67% of my emails completely automated with no customization and no personalization from me. And so I know you guys are all here to learn how to do this, but I want to do just a tiny bit of math first. If we look at those 25 emails on the previous slide, and we assume that each of them takes 10 minutes, which we know some emails take way longer than 10 minutes to formulate and send. But let's say on average, every email that you send in your business only takes 10 minutes. That is 250 minutes. That is almost 4 hours of just emailing clients back and forth. And the thing about these emails, guys, is that I don't really mean that it takes you 10 minutes to write it, because I think we all know there's way more that goes into writing and sending an email than just writing the words. Sometimes you got to find the link to your prep guide. Sometimes you got to find the client's email address. Like, there's a lot of search and find when it comes to communication. And so that is where I'm getting like my average 10 minutes per email from. But if I've learned anything else as an entrepreneur, it is that time is money. And so every moment that you are wasting inside of your business, sending emails that do not need to be sent by you, you are literally letting the money just fly into the wind. I'm sorry, I'm a big JLo fan. So today we are going to be talking about the magic. That is getting together your communication and then automating it. We are going to very briefly talk about emails that are not automated, but that is a very, very small portion of this training. So I want to talk about the roadblocks before we get started, because these are things that I personally hear from my students and from the people that I do one-to-one Dubsado setups for. They think that automated emails are impersonal. They worry to death about what will happen if they send the wrong email to the wrong person at the wrong time. And then this is just something that I've noticed. The higher your price point, the more you think you have to customize each and everything that comes out of your business. And I will say, I think that an email for a $5,000 service should probably be a little bit more customized and personalized than an email for a $7 product. I will agree with that. But in general, just because you're charging a high ticket service does not mean that you have to spend a lot of time writing those emails. And so now we're here for what you're here for. Let's talk about the emails. Let's talk about what should go in them. Let's talk about how to do this, which is basically doing more in your business with way less effort. And of course, that's with Dubsado. Now, technically, everything in this training, people could do it in any CRM. But I have the feeling that you are here because you love everything in Dubsado and what it has to offer. And if you haven't noticed, I am a big gift lover. I put gifts in almost every email. And do you guys realize that people who use other CRMs usually can't put gifts in their emails? I feel so bad for them. Okay, I'm sorry. Let's move on. And to me, it almost feels like I'm cheating to pay Dubsado $40 a month in order to send all of my automated emails for me. It's not cheating, guys, I promise. But it sometimes feels really bad, especially when a client responds to one of my automated emails in a way that lets me know that they really think that I sat down and I wrote that email from scratch. I mean, I give myself a pat on the back because it means that my email was really good and it did its job, but it does feel a little bit like cheating. So I want to start by talking about the anatomy of a great email, because I am not just talking about telling people what they need to know in this webinar. In every single email, you should communicate your purpose. Why are you sending them an email, and what is it that they should do or not do with the information that you're including in that email? The second part of a great email is showing your personality. Now, as I've said, I do that with gifts. I also do it because I write my emails like I talk. Now, if you guys know me on Instagram, I'm trying really hard to keep this training PG-13, so I won't be saying any bad words. But I say bad words on social media all the time. And depending on the email and depending on the client, my email will include baby cuss words and maybe a gift that has one. That is part of my personality. That is something that I want to translate into my client experience. If that is not what you do, that's okay. But I want your email to sound like you talk. I want the person that they meet in your emails to be the same person that shows up in person for a photography session or online for any other service. And last but not least, I want you to keep them engaged. Now, there's a time and place for storytelling. I do not include a story in every single one of my emails. I am all about clarity. So while I'm telling you to write these emails and personalize them and put bits of your personality in them, I also don't want you to think that I'm sending my clients emails that they have to continuously scroll through in order to get to the information that they need. Clarity is key. Do not overwhelm them. You need to give them just enough information to go to the next step in your client experience. All right. So these are some of the emails that I send automatically. I send confirmation emails for calls, for sessions, when I receive a questionnaire from them. Basically, anytime my client takes an action, I send them a confirmation email to let them know that I got whatever they did. And then there's the nurture emails. These are usually what happens before they decide to buy with me or the period after they book, but before I have performed the service. I feel like this is a dead space that a lot of people ignore in their client experience, particularly photographers. Like wedding photographers book services months, sometimes more than a year in advance, and you don't want your clients to pay you thousands of dollars and then you basically ghost them for like 5 to 6 months. I'm not saying check in with your clients every week, but I am saying that you should have some very strategic touch points inside of your client experience to keep people engaged. We've got reminder emails. These are my favorite because I have been known once or twice to forget about a meeting. And then finally, thank you emails. Now, I know that I can thank people in my confirmation emails. And so sometimes my emails do all 4 of these things at the exact same time. But again, you want to do what needs to be done to move someone from one step in your client experience to the next and no more. All right, so let's start with the very first email that you are probably sending any inquiry inside of your business from Dubsado. And that is your inquiry was received. Now, in each of these 5 emails that I'm going to talk about that everyone should be automating inside of their business, I'm going to start with the bare minimum, like what the purpose of the email is. And then we're going to get into, how I build other things in there to keep them engaged. But so this first email is your automated lead response. Someone goes to your website, they fill out your contact form, they answer a few questions. It creates the project inside of Dubsado. And the first thing that you should be doing immediately is sending them I received your inquiry. Now, if you're not ready to talk to them yet, that's okay. But everyone should be receiving an email from you that says, I got your inquiry. Because I have been on the other end of inquiring with a business. And 24 hours later, I still haven't gotten an email. I don't know if they got my contact form, and I'm wondering if I should go fill it out again. Because things happen, guys, right? Tech fails. I mean, we're not saying Dubsado fails, but all tech fails at some point. And so I want to make sure that my clients are not in that wondering if they should do something else again when they already took the time to do it in the first place. So your inquiry was received. I want you to think about what you actually need to communicate with the client inside of this email. And for all of us, it's going to be different. Some people have a lot of information to communicate to their inquiries, while some of us just want to let them know that we got it and that we're personally going to respond to them in the next 24, 48 hours. So some of the things that I think you should have in this first email, automated lead response, is you need to acknowledge that you received their inquiry. You need to remind them of what service you offer. We all like to think that people are only interested in working with us, and that's just not true. So if they have inquired with 3 different people, I do need you to remind them in the email what it is that they inquired with you about. The third thing is keeping them engaged and interested. As a photographer, I tend to send inquiries, example sessions, or informational blog posts that tell them what the session is like, what they can expect from me, what the session is going to feel like, how they can prepare, anything to keep them engaged, because no one is more ready to pay you money than when they send you that first contact form. So you don't want there to be dead space. The fourth thing is that you can specify the next step that they need to take or a timeline of the process. And the last thing is that, again, you need to say thank you for booking you. Guys, every single email should have a thank you from you at some point. Like, you should be constantly thanking the people for inquiring with you, for working with you, for referring you, all of the good things. Now, this is where you can pop in some of that personality. Every single time you send an email, I want you to think about how you feel about the action that they took, or how they are going to feel when you respond to them. And so when someone inquires with you, how do you feel? These are 3 example gifts that I could put into an email. One is woo woo. Another one is dancing. I'm sorry, I'm a big Sex and the City fan. And the last one, you may not recognize her because she is not some famous person. Her name is Maddie Pashong. She is one of my Dubsado VIP Day clients. And she sat down and made a bunch of personalized gifts for me to put inside of her emails. Amazing. There's another one where she's jumping up and down. So while I love using gifts from Giphy, sometimes you want that personal touch, like the gif of me earlier giving you the thumbs up. These take like 10 minutes, guys, no time at all. So if you want to make some personal gifts, send me a DM on Instagram and I will let you know how. But in my automated lead response for my photography clients, I let them know that they're going to hear from me within 24 hours. I give them those sample activities or sample sessions, as I mentioned. I also give them the opportunity to immediately book a 15-minute chat if they'd like. Guys, my photography is a very personalized experience. I only do in-home sessions. I am inside people's houses anywhere from 3 hours to 14 hours. Yes, I did not stutter, 14 hours. And so it requires that I have actual conversations with clients before they hire me. And so if they want to take the first step and book that call, I go ahead and give them a link to do so inside this email. And then once again, I remind them that if they take no action, they will hear from me personally in the next 24 hours. All right. Email number 2, which is probably the most exciting to send, right, guys? It's you are booked. This means that the person jumped through whatever hoops you gave them in order to book your services. They signed a contract, they hopefully paid you money, all of that good jazz. So what do you want to communicate inside of your booking confirmation email? For some of us, we want to go ahead and start giving them information now. Client questionnaire, session prep guide, pre-work for a Dubsado VIP day, any of those things that you want them to get started right away. But you don't have to include any of that stuff if you want. One of the things that I would highly recommend that you do after this training and you sit down to write your 5 emails is figure out exactly what you need to communicate with your clients in each of these emails. Get the links, put them down, and then sit down and write the email. So what I'm suggesting is that you acknowledge that they completed the booking process. You include the details of their booking. If they've booked a photography session with you, remind them of the day and time. There is no such thing as telling your client too many times when they are booked for a session with you. Have you ever had anybody forget a session? I know clients that have. So remind them every opportunity that you get. The third is that you can start to send them preparation materials, how to, shop for their outfits, how to pick a location, any of that good stuff. The next is, again, you want to tell them the next step in the process that they have to take or the timeline of what will happen next. And then last, again, I know I sound like I'm repeating myself, but you want to thank them. And in this case, you're thanking them for booking you. Now, feelings. I know when I have someone pay me money, I am over the moon. I'm like, let's do this. I'm excited. Holla, all that stuff. But if you feel inclined, run over to Giphy, figure out what GIF demonstrates your current feeling for the booking confirmation email, download it, and slip it into your email. Now, I haven't really talked about stories yet. And I am not someone who puts a lot of stories in my email at this point, but it's only because I have very lengthy conversations with my clients. If you are someone that does a mostly online booking process and you don't actually talk to your clients, putting in testimonials and actual stories from services or sessions that you have performed, it really helps you keep connected to your clients. So this is a booking confirmation for a photography session. I used my Sarah Jessica Parker dancing gift. In this particular instance, I'm thanking them. I'm telling them that they're going to hear from me with a questionnaire a few weeks before their session. And then I'm including a link to a prep guide to help them plan their outfits and pick a location for the session. Email number 3. Technically, there is more than one follow-up email, but we're going to lump them all together for the purpose of this training. I want to tell you, if you've never heard this phrase, the funds are in the follow-up. I know that a lot of us don't follow up like we should. We send out the offer, and if we don't get an immediate yes, we just assume the person wasn't interested. And that is just not true. No matter how many times you think the other person on the other end of the computer is rolling their eyes and saying, oh my God, will this person leave me alone? That is typically not what they're doing. We are all busy humans. I actually recommend a minimum of 3 follow-up emails if you haven't heard from someone, because chances are they read emails at red lights like I do, and they totally intended to respond to you, totally intended to book with you, and they just plain forgot. So don't be scared of the follow-up. My 3 recommended follow-ups. Number 1 is completely automated. This one just tells them, hey, I sent over the booking information yesterday, 2 days ago, whatever your timeline is. Did you get it? Do you have any questions? In case the link got buried, here's the link again. No personalization. Now, follow-up number 2, I actually do recommend that you personalize. So this is not one that we're going to get into today. But however you are qualifying your clients, if they're telling you what kind of session they want, if they're telling you about their birth plan, if they're indicating that their family members are going to be visiting and that's why I want a session, this is the email that you actually customize and personalize so that people know that you are actually paying attention to them. This is the one where you make it very clear that you know exactly what they want and that you are the photographer to give it to them or other service provider. And then number 3 is a magic email. Now, I don't want to take credit for the magic email. The magic email is something that I found on the internet. It was written by someone named Kai Davis, and it is very curt on purpose. It just flatly says, I haven't heard back. You must have changed your mind. Good luck. I send a slightly nicer version than that, but that's the point. So here's my example of follow-up number 1. Again, there's no personalization, generic language. The other part that I did put on this slide that I didn't mention when I was speaking about it a moment ago is you want to let someone off the hook for not responding. I always try to make it seem like, oh, it's okay if you didn't get a chance to review the booking process yet. If you intended to respond to me and you didn't, it's totally okay. I've been busy too. You can put that kind of language in there so that the person doesn't feel bad for ignoring you and not responding to you in the first place. And here's the information about the magic email. It's simple, it's intentionally vague, and it's absolutely effective. Now, I will say, my purpose in sending a magic email is typically not to get the booking. It is to get closure. When I send the magic email, it is so, it's not rude, but it is curt. When I send this email, most people feel really bad for not having told you yes or no. And so this is the email where people will respond to me like, oh, I booked someone else, or, oh, we're not interested at this point, or, oh, your pricing was, higher than I expected. Whatever it is, people give you closure, and then you don't have to wonder if they're still thinking about booking you. You can archive that project and move on. Okay. I put her, this is one of my students, Julie. I put her in all of these because I feel like she has given me like the best example of why you do follow-ups. She joined my course and she immediately wrote follow-up emails for a few birth clients, or I guess a few birth leads that hadn't actually booked. And within 48 hours, she booked 2 births. 2 births for people who would probably not have come back if she hadn't followed up with them. So my point is that the money is out there. You just need to send the email to get the people to respond. It works. Email number 4. Now, I'm calling this an abandoned cart reminder, kind of like as a joke. Unless you sell products, you don't actually have an abandoned cart. Services really don't. We're not putting services inside of a cart. But I have found that this is happening more and more frequently to my clients and my students. And it's actually happened to me twice this year. So, this is when, if you are using a traditional 3-step proposal process where you have the proposal, linked to a contract, linked to an invoice, there has been an increased number of people who are filling out the proposal, signing the contract, and then not paying the invoice. Now, if someone took the time to fill out your proposal and sign your contract, the likelihood that they just don't want to work with you anymore is pretty slim. Now, if they get to the contract and they don't sign the contract, maybe they're having second thoughts. But if they do the first 2 steps, but they don't do the third step, in my case, it's because I realized that the autofill on my computer for my credit card is no longer working and I need to go find a credit card. Or I was in the middle of entering my credit card and my dinner started to burn, or my husband came home, or my kid was asking me a math question. It is usually that I am distracted. And so I always assume that it's the same with my clients. And so I've written this really cheeky email. Inside of this email, I acknowledge that they have completed 2 of the 3 required steps to be one of my clients. I include a link to the invoice. I remind them that they are not booked. You are not booked until you pay me money. Your space on my calendar is not yours until you pay me money. The 4th step is to specify a timeline to complete payment. If you are someone who is really strict about this, you might want to tell them, if you have not paid me in 24 hours, I will cancel this project. I've never had to do that, but I have had one person who waited like a whole 18 hours to like pay the invoice. And then the last thing is that you always want to communicate that you're excited to work with them. Now, these are my feelings when someone completes a proposal, signs a contract, and does not pay me my money. I would love to send the "I'm assuming you're not dead" gif. I never have. Please know I'm a very cheeky person, but I'm not that cheeky. So while these are the 3 things that I feel like, are you in, or you out? Show me the money. I'm assuming you're not dead. I don't actually put any of these in the email. So this particular email, I don't include any stories. I don't include any feelings. It is just, you still have one more step until you are fully booked. Link to the invoice, reminder of the timeline, and I send it. I don't want this one to have a ton of like personality, shaming them for not paying me, basically telling them, give me my effing money. Don't want to do any of those things. So I leave them out of this. And the 5th email, guys, that we are going to talk about today is the midway delivery checkpoint. Now, while I'm really talking to photographers with this email, this could apply to any service. This gets rid of the dead zone between when you perform the service and you actually give them the deliverables, whether that is a gallery of images or it is a completely done Dubsado setup, whatever it is. If you take 2 weeks to edit images, you want to send this 1 week after the session. It's specifically and strategically set to be halfway between when you perform the service and when you are anticipating delivering what they got from the service, because you want to make sure that you're still keeping them engaged. I don't know about you guys, but every time I have a photo session, I'm like on my computer hitting refresh. I want to make sure that the images came out as good as I thought that they did, or that they aren't as bad as I thought that they were. One time my husband really acted up in the session. This is not the place to talk about that. So what I would communicate in this email, that everything is going well and that everything is on schedule. Now, if it's not going well and it's not on schedule, this is when you'll want to go to the workflow and pause this email, guys. But I'm assuming everything's going well. This is also when you want to start pre-selling the gallery. Now, if you are all-inclusive photographer and they get all the images, this is just when you want to start highlighting the products that will be available inside of their online gallery software that they can buy. Say a framed print, like behind me on my wall, or something similar. The third thing is that you want to remind them of the delivery process. Guys, in some cases, they probably booked you months ago. They don't remember how this delivery works. If you want to send them a quick video explaining how to download their images, they will thank you. The fourth is that you're going to highlight your favorite product inside of your online gallery store if you're a photographer, or just an implementation tip. So, for example, if you are someone who writes social media captions for someone, you do copywriting, you want to include how they can use the deliverable that you give them immediately, like swapping out the images on their website, adding the copy to their sales page, anything that makes their job easier and make sure that they are going to immediately implement the deliverable that you give them. And of course, last but not least, you need to thank them for booking you. I know it seems like I repeated that. It's not, it's on purpose. You need to thank them for booking you in the first place, so that every single time they are hearing you say thank you and they are reminded of how awesome you are. And hopefully you can get them looking forward to the next time that they're going to hire you. And of course, there's feelings. There's always feelings in this email. In fact, in this one, I put 2 gifts. The first one is yes, for how I feel about editing their images. And then this last one, you can't tell, but it's a GIF. I took a quick video of my daughter flipping through an album that I bought of one of my family sessions. And this is actually how I get my clients interested in buying an album of their own. All right, let's recap. Now, these are the 5 emails that I highly recommend that everyone write and automate at the end of this training. But I didn't want to leave you hanging, so I am actually going to tell you how to do it. First email, automated lead response. You are going to be doing this inside of a workflow. You need to create an inquiry workflow with the email triggered when the workflow starts. And then you need to do one of 2 things. You either need to attach that workflow to your lead capture form so that it gets sent to everyone, or if you are using a workflow question on your lead capture form in order to segment your offers and you want to send a customized lead response depending on what kind of offer they're inquiring about, you do it inside of the workflow question. The second email, the booking confirmation email, this one is also done inside of a workflow. It can be your inquiry workflow, but I highly recommend that you start a new booking workflow and an onboarding workflow, but that's not for this training. But this is a workflow email. The one thing that I'm going to say is if you are sending them any other form inside of Dubsado, like a client questionnaire or a prep guide that you have loaded as a PDF inside of Dubsado, this trigger will not be send email. It will be send form, and then you will attach the form. The third email are your offer follow-ups. These, again, are workflow emails where you will resend the original form with the new email at each touch point. I used to just send emails. And then I realized, guys, if you're not actually resending the form, this lead and client has to go digging through their old emails in order to find the link. Don't do that to them. Make it easy. Use send form so that they always have the link handy. The abandoned cart reminder. And really, this is the email that made me add these slides in. Guys, the abandoned cart reminder is not sent in a workflow. This email does not go on a workflow. You attach it to the payment plan. And the reason that you do this is because when you add payment reminders to a payment plan, those emails are only sent if someone has not paid you. Guys, how embarrassing would it be if you sent somebody an email that said they owed you money when they didn't actually owe you money? So please, this email is not sent in a workflow. It is sent on a payment plan. And finally, your midway delivery checkpoint email. This is sent in the workflow, and you are going to send it X days after project date. Now, you can do after project start date, after end date. If it's the same date, it will be the same time frame. But look at how long it takes you on average to deliver your service, and then set this email to go halfway in that period. All right. I've talked about 5 emails that I want you to send, but guys, there are so many more emails that you can send inside Dubsado automatically. Those are other payment plan reminders, schedule reminders, form completion confirmations, and everything that I've talked about, the anatomy of a good automated email, applies to each of these emails. Now, I know I'm asking you to do a lot of automation. I know that you might feel a certain kind of way about doing it, but this is where you need to put on your big girl panties. I don't know what the male equivalent is. I'm sorry. And if you are worried about automating some of these emails, Did you know that there's an approval button inside of a workflow inside Dubsado? So if you are worried about sending any of these emails automatically, just add the approval button until you feel good about sending them without putting your eyes on them. You can do anything you set your mind to. I truly believe this. And while I have you here, I like to remind everyone, if you have not gone into the canned email template area inside of Dubsado and you have not clicked on this little thing right here that says edit templates, these are template emails that Dubsado has in there that you cannot disable. So if you have not looked, I think there's 16. If you have not looked at these 16 emails and fixed the smart fields and added in a bit of personality where appropriate, I highly recommend that you do that today. An example of an email in here is like your contract completion email. I actually had a client yesterday that was looking to figure out where to change that email, and she had never been into the edit templates area. So please make sure that if you don't do anything else, you go look at those 16 emails and you edit them. All right. And you can't turn them off. So even if you don't like them, you still need to personalize them. All right, that is the end of this training, guys. I would love to be friends. I am usually on Instagram at Colie James. I have a podcast, Business First Creatives, and I made you guys a nice page. If you feel like you want to look at these slides in depth, because I mean, they did have example emails, they did have bullet points on what you should include. If you go to coliejames.com/dub-magic, you will be able to download my slides and hear more about other ways to work with me. And that is it for this training. What I am going to do now is figure out how to get back to you. There's my face. All right, I'm going to scroll and see if you guys had any questions. There's nothing in the Q&A. If you wrote a question inside of, let's see, I'm scrolling. I'm sorry, guys. You guys are so sweet. Oh, let's see. I am so happy that so many of you love the magic email. I mean, I wish I could take credit for it. When I share it with my clients and my students, they're always like, yeah, Colie, I'm not saying that. And then I say, okay, so can we make it a little nicer? Actually, let me give you a tip related to the magic email that I usually tell people and I didn't put in the slides. Guys, there is one line that I absolutely insist that every single one of my clients and students add to the magic email. And that is, if you change your mind in the future, please check back for updated pricing and availability. What you're doing, guys, is you're telling them on the sly, the price is still not going to be the price later. So if you want to book this, you should do it now. Oh my gosh, Sandra said she didn't even know you could put GIFs into the email. Sandra, you just download it onto your computer and you drag it over just like an image. Now, I do want to say there is a limit. If you try to drag a GIF into an email and it gives you an error, it's because your GIF is too big. You do want to make sure that they are under 10 megabytes. But usually when you're downloading them from Giphy.com, they will be less than 10 megabytes. Kyle said she picked a wedding photographer partially because she cussed on her website. I mean, your people are your people. So yes, show your personality. Okay, guys, you didn't ask me any questions. If you have any questions, please drop them in. Otherwise, I guess I'm going to give you back a few minutes of your day. The website's not working for you? Let me check real fast. It's working for me. Did anybody else try going to here? Let me put it in the chat. Dub magic. All right. Someone click on that link and tell me if it's working for you. It's working for me, but I mean, it could be because it's my website. I sent it to my best. It worked for Deirdre. Okay, good. Awesome. It made me a little worried. I mean, not that I do websites, but I did try to check everything to make sure that it worked. Okay, Aaliyah says an email marketing campaign sequence versus Dubsado automated emails and why. Okay, so let me make sure. It was Aaliyah. Aaliyah, I use both. But everything that I've talked about in this particular presentation was related to client experience emails. So these are people that in one way or another have raised their hand and opted to work with you. And that's why you're sending these particular emails. Now, if you want to talk about an automated email sequence, I too have people who inquire about my services and do not book me. You're not alone in that. So if people have given you permission to add them to your marketing emails, that is where I would continue to nurture them in an automated marketing emails inside of whatever system you use. I use ConvertKit. I used to have Flowdesk. And then you can continue to nurture them. But the really awesome thing about the anatomy of a good email, which are the things that I talked about earlier in this presentation, those things apply to newsletter and marketing emails, just like they apply to your client experience emails. So you still want to show your personality. You still want to include testimonials and stories where they're appropriate. You always want to give them a call to action. And if you intend to email them again, you want to say when. So a weekly newsletter, it could just be as easy as saying, I'll be back in your inbox next week. But if it's like a welcome series where someone has opted into a freebie and you're sending them that first email, you might want to warn them how often you are going to email them. Or like in my case, if you downloaded, like, let's say my Dubsado Quick Start, at the bottom of the delivery email, I tell you, I will be back tomorrow to tell you about my favorite feature in Dubsado. Make sure you keep an eye on your inbox. It's just making them aware of when they should expect to hear from you next. And that's good for marketing emails and client experience emails. Oh, thank you, Ellie, for reposting the link. All right, guys. Any other questions? And thank you, Aaliyah. That was a really great question. I'm going to have some coffee. No problemo. All right. You guys seem to not have... why do you prefer to download the GIF versus using a link? Because I don't trust links. I mean, can I be honest? I'm trying to think if this has ever happened to me, but it has happened to a client. Like if you're embedding a GIF and it disappears off of Giphy, your clients don't get anything. Sometimes they get that weird like half box that shows an image that really isn't an image. So I just prefer to download everything and put it into the emails so that I am not dependent on something being on the internet that I don't have control over. Oh, there's a question in the Q&A. Okay. Sierra and Mike, I don't see an email. I mean, I don't see a question. I apologize. I'm in this section and oh, there we go. Never mind. They populated. Okay. First question. Do you have triggers set so that when someone needs a reminder, it is activated automatically? Maybe it's a dumb question, or is the reminder activated by us? Hey, Sierra. Oh, and you gave me an example. Hold on. So for example, if someone doesn't sign something or answer the question in an email, will it be a reminder? Okay. So we are, of course, limited to what the workflow triggers are inside of Dubsado. So you can trigger something if someone does not fill out a form. You actually don't have any other negative triggers. So if someone doesn't take action, but you can always write a template and have it inside of the workflow and activate it if you need it. A really good example of this is, do you remember the slide where I was talking about the abandoned cart reminder? And I'm like, if you did the proposal and you did the contract, I can send you an automatic email to pay me. That is great because the payment reminder allows you to automatically send an email if they haven't paid you. But unfortunately, there isn't one for contract not signed. So that is one case where how I solve that is, how you can have the different buckets, the different project statuses inside Dubsado. I move someone from like my inquiry stage into contract sent. And then when they sign the contract, they get moved into contract signed. But so on any given day, if I open my Dubsado and I see that there's someone in there that's hanging around in the contract sent, and they haven't been moved to the contract signed, that's when I know I need to go follow up with them. And I could just use a template email, and it doesn't mean that I have to write the email from scratch, but I do have to actually send the email because there is no way for a workflow to watch that for you. I hope that answers your question. How did you make your thank you email pink? Which email is pink, Alicia? I don't know how I did it. So will you do me a favor? Because I don't think you can put pictures on here. Send me a DM on Instagram and show me a picture, and then I'm happy to tell you how I did it. I'm coming back to the chat. Okay. Rosa has a question. Do you use a scheduler, and how does it come into play in this workflow? Also, do you have a video or class on how to set up a scheduler? Rosa, I have a whole class that helps you set up all of Dubsado. It's called the CRM Blueprint. I do not have a course specifically on just how to do a scheduler. I use schedulers in a few different ways. I teach my students how to do mini sessions because I don't offer mini sessions. Like, I'm not coming to your house for 30 minutes. I'm going to be there for quite some time. But I do teach my students how to do that. The other thing that I use a scheduler for is consultation calls. Like I said, I want to talk to everyone because I am in your house for a very long time. So I use schedulers to book that call. And you saw how I had a link to book it. Why don't I give you an example from the other side of my business? When I do Dubsado setups, you actually schedule the call first. So on coliejames.com, which is not my photography website, there is actually a scheduler embedded where you pick your time for your call, and then you get the lead capture form to fill it out. I attach the form to it. Oh, that was not me. So that means that it was Dubsado that did that. Yay, I like pink. Okay, let's see. Martha says, can you explain to me, like I'm a 5-year-old, how you set things up to both add the inquiry into your mailing list as well as Dubsado? Hey, Martha, there's a training in the course for that. I will email it to you later. Sorry, she's one of my students. There's a training in the bonus section. And it's actually new. I think I put it in there like a month ago. I will send that to you. But for everyone else, you cannot add people automatically to your mailing list unless you are using Zapier. So if you have a free Zapier account, you can actually use inquiry received in Dubsado as the trigger, and you can send them over to the email marketing program of your choice as long as it's available on Zapier. Like, I know it's available for both Flowdesk and ConvertKit, and I'm sure every other email marketing program. Hey, Kyle, why don't you send me an email and we can chat about it? My email button. Oh, maybe I just did it in ConvertKit. That just might be it. I mean, but does everyone know you can change your button color on Dubsado? Please tell me everyone knows this. Inside your brand settings, that's available. But if you're talking about the confirmation email that you got, it was probably, I did it in ConvertKit. Oh, okay. So someone asked me, I would say your name, but I don't want to butcher it, and I always feel bad. McKaylee? That's my guess. How you do magic email is, if you are interested in the future, please contact me again for updated pricing and availability. One of those words sounds weird, but that's the gist. Basically, if you change your mind in the future and you want to come back, still happy to work with you, but you're going to have to see if I'm still available or if the price has changed. Aaliyah asked, do your clients commend you for your brand email experience? And has this been more effective in amplifying your brand value versus when you were not using Dubsado initially? Girl, that is a great question. So I will say everything that I do amplifies my brand, and I'm really not just patting myself on the back. I get a ton of compliments every time I go into someone's house. They're like, oh my God, like you are the exact same person that was in your emails, that I chatted with on the phone, that I saw on your website. And I often make a joke about it. Like, as a loud Black woman, I really need you to know who to expect that's coming to your house. I want to make sure that there are no surprises, because I don't want to be in a situation where someone ever thought that they were hiring like one type of person and then I showed up. But I do think that it really helps elevate my brand. Like, for example, one thing that I got this past week, I did an in-home session for a family. Mom walked around in her robe with, like, her words, greasy, unwashed hair for like the first, I don't know, 30, 45 minutes of the session. And when she got it back, she made a comment about how she loved the images so much because they reflected their slow Saturday mornings hanging out in the garden in my robe with my greasy hair. Oh, you can bet I'm going to send her an email to be like, can I use this inside of one of my emails? I mean, anytime you get an email that puts someone at ease, or I'm sorry, not an email, every time you get like a testimonial or a comment about your services that would put someone else at ease, that's when I figure out how to try to work it in either to the emails or the proposal or my website if I want to start at like the first place that they contact me. Michael, okay. Thank you, Ellie. I appreciate you putting that in the comment because, yeah, that does sound way more like me. If you change your mind in the future, please check back for updated pricing and availability. Let's add and availability. Because, I mean, that's one of the things, it has nothing to do with this talk, guys, but one of the things that I often tell my students is, what is your timeline for considering that someone is not going to book you? I get highly anxious. This is just me being personal. I get highly anxious when people are inside of my funnel, like when someone has inquired and they're not actually taking action. So I actually expire all of my proposals somewhere between 3 to 5 days. Like, if you tell me that you need more time, I am happy to extend it. But I don't ever want to get in a situation where someone inquired and they dragged their feet and I thought that they weren't going to book. And then I ended up talking to someone else and then they booked and then the day was gone, or I double booked, or, you know, whatever the case is. So I'm really strict about expiring my proposals so that I don't ever get in a situation like that. So, I mean, it really is true that if I offer this to you today and you come back in 3 weeks, that date that you wanted is probably not still going to be available. But that depends on, you know, how much you're booking and all of those kinds of things. Cassandra asked, can you customize Dubsado emails to brand better other than changing button colors? You cannot. You can perhaps change the fonts if there's one that's a little bit more on brand for you. What I recommend in order to make them more on brand is you can add GIFs to show personality. You can also use emojis. And then, I mean, I don't personally do it, but if you have an email header image that you've like created inside of Canva, you can do that to the top of all your emails. And then, of course, if you are not customizing your email signature, I highly recommend that everyone do that. I have a rather like big picture of me inside of each one of my 3 brands, and then information that's specific to that brand. So like for the photography clients, it tells them about my travel sessions. And I think it has a link to like what to do in your session is maybe the one link. For my Dubsado setup clients and students, that one talks about the different offers that I have to do your setups. And it also has a link to the podcast. So I highly recommend, if you haven't updated your email signature, that you do that as well. Man, Michael says, I can never find a nice way of saying the price will be higher. Yeah, the price will be higher. If you come follow me on Instagram, you will figure out I am very blunt when it comes to pricing. I am very blunt when I tell everybody to raise their price. I am very blunt when I tell my clients what the price is. And that's just part of my personality. I mean, it's okay that it's not everyone's personality. I will say that the more you write automated emails and the more that you write templated emails, it does take some of that pressure and that anxiety about discussing price. I feel the same way with your proposals. If you lay your offer out in a fantastic way in your proposal that helps you communicate the price, you will not have to answer pricing questions anymore. It's like a beautiful thing. The more that you automate, the less uncomfortable you have to feel. How do you add a header? Cassandra, it would just be like an image that you were dragging in there, just like you were dragging a GIF. Yvonne says, yesterday's price is not today's price. That's true, but that might be just a little too blunt for me. Unless I put it on a GIF. You know what, y'all? I would totally make a GIF of that and put it in an email. But that's just me. Okay, Jennifer says, is there a way in canned emails to include a scheduler and a form link? Absolutely not, girl. Let me give you my tip. So I don't know if you noticed, every scheduler has a public link. After someone books a call or an appointment off of a public link, did you know that you can actually click on the appointment itself and there's a drop down that says project? So even if someone is booking off of a public link and it's not automatically in their project, you can go click on there and attach it to the project. That is what I do if I have a client or a student who insists on giving someone the option to book a call and open like a client questionnaire at the same time. It just takes one more step for you. After they book that public appointment, you just open Dubsado, and on your main calendar, if you click on the appointment, you can choose the project that it belongs with. And then if you go inside that project, you will be able to see that appointment on the appointments tab. All right, y'all. I think I've gotten everybody's questions. If I have not, please let me know right now. I'm scrolling. Yeah, I don't see any other questions. Does anyone have any other questions? Thank you, Morgan. Thank you, Ella. Oh, I can't say all your names now. There's too many. Aaliyah, would enrolling in the Dubsado certification process help with setting up our own workflows? So I'm going to answer this from my perspective, and maybe Morgan wants to kick in with a different answer. Dubsado certification is not really for like the everyday user. It's for people like me who do setups for other people. You don't need to become a certified specialist in order to learn how to do workflows better. Dubsado actually has a whole education wing of videos. Most of them are done by Cameron. And I'm pretty sure even if he didn't do all of them, he did the workflow ones. So you can always do that. And if you think that you are like a DIY person and you just want to consume all of the information that you want, I would highly recommend going through Dubsado's education videos. The reason that I tell someone to either take a course like mine or to hire a certified specialist is if you don't want to learn how to do it yourself, or you want somebody to really help you customize it based on how you run your business. Because I mean, that's one of the things. Again, the training videos are amazing, but like when I teach it to photographers, I'm telling them exactly what to do based on my almost 11 years of experience as a photographer. And so it's a different beast when you have someone in your industry that's telling you exactly what to do, or if you hire someone for one-on-one help and you basically tell them how your business works and they help you make a process that's like really customized for how you interact with your clients. And Morgan has put a link to the education portal in here, which is where you'll find all of Dubsado's free videos. I mean, they have some on YouTube, but like there's a whole thing that you can subscribe for. There's a beginner, an intermediate, and an advanced, right, Morgan? Yeah. And see, Cameron is awesome. I agree. All right, guys. Well, I guess that's it. We're going to wrap it up. I am going to say goodbye to everyone. I truly appreciate each and every one of you showing up. I mean, I know that you guys probably know this, but when you do this or you do like a free 3-day challenge, it's always, am I going to be the only person in the room talking to myself, which I happen to find very awkward. So thank you to each and every one of you for joining me. And I hope that you guys find the time and the space to write these automated emails and save yourself some time and money inside your business. Thanks, guys.